Okay. I started streaming.
Okay.
And there we are, ready to go. Oh, I can see the curtain blowing. One of them.
Is that particularly bad, or?
No, I was trying to figure out what side it's on. I guess that's actually a light I'm seeing over there, and that, yeah, that's that side. That's where the curtain's going. Got 3 people so far.
One of them's me.
Uh-huh. Congratulations. Thank you for coming. I was watching the airplane. Aquarian says, hello, happy Sunday. Hi, Aquarian. Thank you for joining us. Apparently my tongue's not working. I thought that the airplane was going to hit the mall when I went to the mall earlier. It was really low. He says, popping in to say hello, and I hope you're well. Sadly, I can't stay this time, but I wish I could. Well, thank you for stopping in.
Popping in, yes.
We really appreciate it. It's always nice to see everybody. Jonathan says, hi, guys. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, Jonathan.
Yay.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me. Woo. I'm yawning. Aaron says hello. Hi, Aaron. How you doing? I can hear Ian typing over there.
No, nothing. Okay, just...
Yes, thank you for adding that. Hi, Damama says hello, lovelies. Hi, how you doing? We have a birthday today. It's always good to make another birthday. Make it 2 and past. What do you all want to talk about? We're ready. I want to welcome some of the new people that started showing up too. They may show up today or not, but always nice to get new friends and faces and so forth. I guess the next holiday we have coming up is going to be the equinox.
Yeah, I guess it is getting close, isn't it?
Yep. A month. A little bit.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit less than 4 weeks.
We need to still figure out what to do about our roof.
Actually, 3 weeks.
We'll get through this month first.
Yes. Aquarian says, been having this recurring dream I can never vividly bring back. The dream is I'm passing through walls or barriers, but it takes a certain focus or state of mind I can recreate, like being mindful. Sounds like you're having an out-of-body experience while you're sleeping.
Oh, that could be true, yeah.
Ida Mama says, suggestions for travel magic. I am starting van life soon, and I want to be able to continue my practice while traveling. Well, when I travel, I bring my favorite rocks and sometimes some favorite wands so that I can make sure that I can clear a space and, you know, set the energy right. We ended up going to a cabin a few years in a row, and it was on a power spot, and between visits it accumulated a lot of negative energy from people who were staying in the cabin, since it was something anyone could rent. And so we would end up needing to like sort of rearrange the power spot and clear things out so that we could focus.
But that was like other people's stuff imposed over the power spot. It really didn't affect the power spot.
Right.
Just us.
Yes. And so think about that, because you're going to be meeting maybe new spirit beings and so forth, and land guardians, and have stuff with you in
Probably a
order.
couple of good reference books, just so keep yourself on track. You have what you need for just a small amount, but just enough to get information in there.
Yeah, and some kind of offerings that you think the different areas might like, and sort of check in with yourself to see what that would be, whether that would be sage or tobacco or
Probably the most important thing is to remember that whatever it is you can do with a tool, you can also do without the tool, though we prefer using tools by far. But if you're stuck and you have no tools, remember you can still do magic.
right. Sit on the ground and say hi to a local tree, see what happens. So Adela says, hello, I'm interested in Fae and learning about them, but I live in the city. Do you think there are any Fae or nature spirits in the cities? Because I feel very drawn to them. I would find a local park.
Yeah,
Any kind
something
of a
with
waterway, if there's like a stream or a lake or something that you can
trees.
go to.
For sure, trees, yeah.
Right. And yeah, and do some, looking around and see. You can end up with fairies in your own yard and garden if you plant things there and focus on them, because they live everywhere. They're not just out in nature, because nature is the whole planet. And so, try not to short circuit the possibilities of encountering them by thinking
Yeah.
they're not there, so you're not looking.
Well, and like Siofra and I encountered once a sylph in a park, which is just weird to start with because normally they aren't just parked on the ground like that. So I don't know what it was doing there, but they certainly pervade everywhere, so they can if they want.
I've had them come into the house on a plant at one time, so they can hang out in places, gardening areas, like stores that have garden centers will have fae that are there that are sort of checking in and taking care of the different plants that are around. So, use your imagination when it comes to that. And we have some houses around here, when we're doing our walk around the neighborhood, there's definitely some yards that have got that feel to them. And that there's, nature spirits and stuff hanging around, because they have like small animals and flowers, and their energy is such that they're attracting that kind of stuff to them. So that's what I would do. So Ruth says hi all. Hi Ruth. Moonfire Dawn says hello. Last week you lost internet. I looked for Barton's first book. Multiple bookstores had it on sale. I haven't gotten it yet because it shipped from England, but I'm excited.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, when we bought the original, we had to buy one of the paperbacks, which is the second edition, because my first edition was getting too beat up. And they made some useful changes in the second edition, but we still paid a lot for it for a paperback book.
So
It's
Ida Mama
expensive.
says thank you. You're welcome. Aquarian says sort of random, but my grandfather is from Ireland and loves sharing about his childhood. He mentioned Ireland has no snakes. So I've been thinking about magic causes, consequences, or implications. Well, Ireland, I don't think ever had snakes. I think it's just one of those places that doesn't have snakes. And no snakes have managed to get there by boat, which is maybe remarkable, but one way that snakes can travel, they somehow get on a ship, I guess, and go along for the ride. But I don't think it had anything to do with magic. I think Patrick took credit for there not being any snakes, and I don't think they were actual snakes he was talking about.
Okay, I don't know nothing about that. So.
Yeah, it's pretty clear to most people, that's our assumption anyway, that he was talking about driving the pagans from Ireland because we were the snakes. So, he says, do you have any ideas about significations? Yes, that would be apparently what I'm rambling on about. Wad says, hi everyone, sending lots of love. Hi. Inky Mew says, hello. Hi, Inky Mew. Adela says, thank you so much. That really helped. There is a river close by, so I'll definitely go there. Awesome. Getting to know your area is really important because, being a pagan is about nature and the world and everything in it. So good to go. Inky Mew says, currently in a crisis house and I can feel all the good vibes here, especially in the garden. It's a positive, uplifting place. I wish I didn't have to leave. Well, I'm glad you have a place at the moment, at least, that you can just sort of hang out with and get some good vibes, because it is really helpful in a crisis. If you end up having to go somewhere else, try and find that kind of a refuge.
Somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere, anywhere. Look around, find something. Butterfly Magic says, with hot tea. Hello, Siofra. Hello, folks. Hi, Butterfly. Vanessa V says hello. Hi, Vanessa.
Vanessa.
Nice to see you. Haven't seen you in a bit. People come and go. They have lives.
Yeah.
Like we have lives. We all have lives. It's just sort of an interesting addition to just having a life.
Yep.
Having magic there with you.
Like they say, life is what happens while you're making other plans.
That's a fact.
Yep.
Inky View says, thank you. I definitely will be finding a special place when I'm back home. It's important for us all to have a refuge. Oh, Jacqueline says, hello, listening while I'm driving home from Virginia. Hi, Jacqueline. So happy that you joined us just to say hello. Have a safe drive. You have a ways to go. So our thoughts are with you. Safety net. Lots of energy around your car. Lulu says, hi. Hi, Lulu. And Della says, how are you? Well, we've been having an interesting week.
Busy, but yeah, just
trying to figure some stuff out.
Not bad or good, just like, it's like that old curse me, you live in interesting times. It's been interesting, not necessarily all bad, just interesting.
But that's the way life is. It's a series of events that happen sometimes without your permission. And it just sort of like happens. And then you have to decide if you're going to react or respond. And we try to respond as much as possible. So, yeah, we're still trying to figure out some of the health stuff. I have a heart monitor on that I send back on the 1st. And tomorrow I have a doctor's appointment to make sure I have no cancer on my skin. You know, just taking care of an aging form.
Is that in Eugene or Salem?
Yes, that's in Eugene.
Eugene, okay. So that won't be too bad of a drive.
Right.
Yeah.
And then after our next live show, we'll be driving up to Salem to pick up my tree and get it back.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing, is it doesn't matter who you are, there's always going to be something throwing a monkey wrench into your plans, and the test is how well you can adapt. Really. Yeah. Adaptability is the secret, I think.
Makes me wonder which kind of a wrench especially is a monkey wrench. And why is it called that? Somebody trained monkeys to use wrenches?
I don't know. Maybe there is such a thing called a monkey wrench. I'm not a...
Well, there is, but it's a...
But I think they used it because monkeys do a lot of things that are sort of random and without, thought. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember what kind of wrench they are, but I used to know. But anyway, just,
random
English
thoughts.
language is so strange.
It is. So Butterfly Magic says, tomorrow it's back to work. Next week we add school to the plans. Oh yes, organizing a life. It's fun. Vanessa V says, yes, life, but I love connecting whenever I can. This is a beautiful community, and I always learn from you. Started connecting with Caradwin last week. Awesome. Good job. Moonfire Dawn says, P.O.?
P-I-O?
P-I-O?
I think it's probably part of a word.
Hello? Well, hello. Anyway, pipe wrench. Ah.
I was thinking that might be the case.
All right. We're illuminated.
I couldn't quite remember, yeah.
Monkey wrenches or pipe wrenches?
Yep.
Yeah, you don't want your pipe wrench not to work because then you have water everywhere. Which we had a few weeks back. Or a month ago or something.
Yeah. I've had enough for monkey wrenches for this year.
No more monkey wrenches.
Yeah. Leave that for next year. I had enough plumbing stuff already. So hopefully I've got it.
Hopefully.
Yep.
Well, I think I had the waving energy bed thing happen last night briefly when I was trying to get to sleep, which was kind of interesting. It is oh, and I saw a new spirit I've never seen before. It had very large ears. It came up like this, and not quite animalistic, but sort of. After I woke up, it reminded me of Gremlins. That kind of face, but wasn't that either. So, yeah, Moonfire Dawn says, sorry, I fat fingered the send button. We've been there. We've all been there. That's why we check out stuff and we don't worry about grammatical errors on our live show as much as possible.
Yeah.
Aquarian says, your video on the other side is fantastic. Are you guys familiar with the Vedas and what they're about death and what happens to the soul?
Well, I'm relatively familiar with Indian stuff, but not the Vedas specifically because I've been focusing on the Tantras. So, you're welcome to put a little line in and say what you're talking about there. I would be interested. I don't know about anybody else because I'm not so familiar with the Vedas, the Vedas.
Yeah, there are so many different.
And what's the proper pronunciation of that?
Well, there's another question by itself.
Yeah.
So Jonathan says plumbing is hard, especially when the fittings have been in situ for decades. Yes, that's.
Since like 55 or
Yes.
whatever, replacing old original plumbing. Yep.
The house was built in 52.
1952.
Yep. Andela says, I adore watching your videos. There is such a loving energy in them. This live made my day. Well, I'm so happy. You know, it's like we're just being ourselves, and it's nice to meet other people that appreciate that. Even if we don't, like, you know, meet in person. I was talking about that with another practitioner who's in the state, not in my town, this morning. And how, you know, she needed to reach out and have a chat because she was going through something, and we could just get on Facebook and just see each other and have a conversation, and it's just a marvelous thing that we can do that. I much prefer this to just talking on the phone. I like to see people's faces and stuff when I can because it gives me so much more information and so forth. But yeah. So Ida Mama says, my house was built in 1903, and man, there's always something that needs to be fixed. Yeah, I bet. Robin says, I heard once to use Vaseline on a stuck old pipe with the wrench.
Yeah, these were bad enough. There was no getting them off. It was sawing them off with a reciprocal saw.
These things were solidified together and had become one metal.
Yep.
Sometimes, apparently, that does that. Jonathan says, is your fire altar in the west? The sun on the curtain looks very cool. No, it's in the south. The west is over there.
We're just facing south now. We just turned everything around 180 degrees from where
I'm
it used to be.
looking to the north, and the east is over there, and the west is over there, and this is the south I'm sitting on.
One of these days we'll turn around to the east or the west altar or something just for whenever we feel like it.
Yeah, when we feel like we're rearranging all of our plugs and find out if there's an outlet over there. But yeah. Ida Mama says, oh boy, that's never fine. Yeah.
I don't know if people know it, but not only the Tantras, but in India, the Vedas are just a huge, giant collection of works. You can't like claim it's a work. It's like a huge volume of things. And the same with the Tantras. They're a huge volume of books and articles and texts and things, mostly all ancient.
So Robin says, praise to my guardians. I was in hospital with E. coli and sepsis, all in my blood, but never went to the kidney. Bacteria in blood, not in urine. My sad kidneys were safe. Thank goodness. I'm so glad to hear that. Because it's scary, especially with something like that that's everywhere. So, feeling better, I'm assuming, because you're not in the hospital anymore? This must be good news, right? Yay! Survival!
Yep.
There's room for growth if there's survival. Opportunities. But yeah, health stuff can be scary, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we're in physical, biological form, regardless of whether time exists or not, or past lives exist or not, or
Yeah, you know, it's
anything else. It's like we're in a meat suit,
Yeah.
and
No matter,
experiencing this.
no matter what you believe about the universe, it could come up and conk you in the head. You
That's
just
right.
have to watch out.
That's right. It says, "Hey, what you doing, Pop? Oh, look, that was fun. Let's do that again." Robin says, "Yes, 1 week in fever, 104, 3 days. Wow. That is rough. Especially the older I get, the less fevers are good for me. I mean, it's definitely the older you are, the higher the number, the worse it is as far as fevers go. If you're 3 and your temperature is 104, it's not much of a surprise." But yeah, bodies, they wear out eventually. But we do our best. Aquarian says, "I'm not at all an expert on the Vedas, just a student. The idea is at death, we see all our past lives play out. Everything congregates into one moment, and the last desire or thought of the soul will be coming later, as
Okay.
there will be a continuation of that thought, I'm sure."
Okay, well, thank you.
Jonathan says, "Okay, it's still so strange to me that the sun is in your south, but my north. The moon moves from right to left for me, but left to right for you. Makes Deosil and Widdershins tricky to decide." Yes,
Yep.
it does. Robin says, "I'm 68. Really thank St. Anne and Bridget." Well, congratulations for getting this far. I'm in better shape than my granddaughter, who's 29, and I'm 72. We're having a struggle with the medications they've put her on. They're turned her into a walking zombie, so we're trying to figure out a plan of action to get a handle on it and get all of her doctors on the same page so they stop adding stuff. It's like, everyone is so different. They keep forgetting that.
Yeah.
Lulu says, "You." I run fevers all the time, exhausting. Oh, yes. That would be exhausting. It's the body's way to try and fight things off, but sometimes it just gets completely out of control.
Well, that's why I've got allergies, because my immune system is out of control for that kind of stuff.
Yep. Robin says, "Jonathan, are you south of the equator? Does toilet water really go opposite?" I think the answer is yes to both questions. Google says that was a mistake. The IU? Or having fevers all the time. That would definitely be a mistake.
Well, it's not like you
But
have
not one that you plan
fevers
for.
on purpose.
Right, exactly. Not like you're doing it on purpose. You're sort of, whatever bodies we're born into, we have to figure out how to deal with the genetics that we've inherited, as well as our spiritual path and all the other stuff. It's not a simple process. Lewis says, "I have underactive thyroid, which causes issues." Yeah, they finally got my thyroid under control. Autoimmune sounds like that. Autoimmune stuff is tricky. There's still so much we have yet to learn about how to treat the body and what works with what. I mean, the new research in genetics is encouraging, because eventually it's going to be, they can just sort of run your genome and figure out what medications will work for you and which ones will not. And so they don't have to try all of this stuff out to see if it takes or not, and whether it's going to, be good for your body and your brain and all that other stuff. But we still have a ways to go with that. It's coming. Krista says, "Is it possible to be an insect in a past life? Depends on if you believe in transmigration. The Hindus believe that.
Personally, my feeling is that you can't, but it is a common belief system, especially in some. Well, I'm not sure about the standard Buddhist stuff.
In Hinduism,
but it's definitely there. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe in Buddhism as well, which is why they don't harm any living, moving thing. Vegetables are okay. They can harm a vegetable, but not an ant.
I don't know. I still think you should apologize to a carrot before pulling it. Just me.
Yes. And she adds, "And hello, hope your day is going well, by the way. Blessed be. Thank you. Today is going better than yesterday." And, I think that when it comes to all those types of experiences, as far as the, feeling like you were an insect at some point, there is certainly that ability that some people have to sort of empathize in the extreme and become what they see and feel everything about it. So whether it's true in that sense or not, it can be true in an experiential way. So, if you have the experience of having been that, whether you were that or not, you have the experience of having been that, therefore it's now added to your, all of the experiences that you have that you draw upon. So Aquarian says the last thought of or attachment of the soul propels you into the next life. Yoga meditation trains the mind to be clearer, so it is with the divine at death, so you can ascend never to return.
Okay, so it looks like they generally have a little bit different take on that. Actually, I haven't. Most of the stuff I've been reading hasn't been mentioning past lives and stuff so much in the tantras that I've run into, except for taking them as granted, taking them for granted that you have lived past lives and things. And I don't remember anything about that specifically. Some of the practices are to go out the top of your head, the Brahma, or Brahma's in your root, but anyway, up the Kundalini, out the top of your head, place yourself at your third eye before you're going to die. There's a lot of the Kundalini things. Place yourself at your third eye, and then you can leave your body at will instead of being prone to death. And you can leave consciously, supposedly, while your body dies. But yeah, I haven't gone too far into the Vedas, so I was not aware of that. So thank you.
And personally, I've decided that's not something I'm aspiring to do, because I think enough of us have left already, never to return, that here we are with a bunch of new souls who don't know what they're doing. So I'm sort of in favor of some of us hanging around so we can help the rest of them go.
Well, yeah.
And that's actually one of the other things, is that they can't really ascend until everyone ascends at the same time.
Well, yeah, that's depending on which ones you're talking about. That's definitely a part of it that's mixed up with a lot of the philosophy there, too.
So Robin says, my hospital room was full of crystals. I have Hashimoto's. Normal temperature for me is 97.4. So 104 was bad. Anyway, nurses asked about crystals, made fun conversation. It's always nice to have fun conversation. I actually had some good conversations with the ER personnel when I was in the ER last week. So that was kind of nice. And they didn't assume that I have Munchausen's because I know medical terminology, which was also very refreshing. They actually asked an intelligent question. Are you in a health-related field? Like, yeah, I am. That's why I use these words. So Lewell says, I feel like a phone that operates on dysfunctional battery. Need rest often, even with medications. It's a challenge. Every life has got their own. Jonathan says, Robin, I'm in South Africa. When I flush, it just goes away. I haven't spent much time watching it happen. Well, it does go the opposite direction. I do think the whirlpool in the bath drain turns the same direction as hurricanes, which is in the south, the opposite direction to what it is in the north of the equator. Aquarian says, your video was very similar in idea to the Vedic ideas. That's why I asked if you read them. I suppose all knowledge really does come from the same place. Well, yeah, I was just talking about my personal experiences, and yeah, it is interesting when there's some kind of other verification for some of the things I've experienced.
Yeah, what I was going to say, if your goal is the underlying truth and not the way a particular group of people or religion or whatever interprets the truth, then you start finding it throughout everything. As long as I don't throw myself up as any one of a thing. I try to find the truth underlying the different religions and practices and teachings. And if you do that, you're kind of always on the right track no matter what you're studying.
Exactly. Angela says, "Hi everyone, blessings. Hope you're all well. I'm great. I fixed the oldest doll in my collection today. Congratulations." It's always good to have things fixed. I started working on wands again this past couple of weeks. I think I've got 9 of them made and 2 more to go before I put them up on my site. I'm having fun. When I get the urge, I always have fun. Robin says, like, does the light stay on in the fridge? Age-old questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to put someone in there, How do you do
Find
that?
out, yeah.
And then can they talk? Because, your cat might know, but then they won't say. They're like, sorry, that's a secret thing. Only cats can find out. Because every so often they get stuck in the fridge.
You have to put your little wireless camera inside so you can see and hope that it transmits well enough through the fridge to work. There you go. That's all you need.
We have technology now.
That's right.
Put your phone inside and have a video going. Yeah. Vlad says, I just made a wand from a pink cherry blossom branch and was wondering if you had any thoughts on the meaning of this particular wood. I think that cherry is, I made an air wand with my cherry, and I think cherry is a lovely wood. It's a light wood. Robin says, oh, how nice, wouldn't cherry blossom be love and friendship? And it depends upon the tradition, because that's one of the interesting things, is looking through different traditions for what they mean. And certainly, cherry blossoms are beautiful, and yeah. So that's my association, which is why I picked cherry for my air wand.
Yeah.
And it depends on your association, so it adapts to you. I mean, that's sort of how magic works. It's like, it's your thoughts and your feelings and your knowledge base and your intuition and your culture and your personal mythology and so forth that lends energy to the definitions of things. So it can mean a lot of different stuff. Robin says, I thought I was dying, felt life force drain away. It was so weird. All thought was I didn't get to say goodbye to grandkids. Otherwise, very peaceful feeling. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you didn't go all the way and you came back, so now you can talk to your grandkids. Kenny says, hail there, Siofra and Ian. Hi, Kenny. Angela says, I hope the ER visit turned out okay. Well, yeah, they made me wear a heart monitor. They think it's blood pressure that's causing all of my issues, so they started me on a blood pressure medication. I haven't taken my first one yet. I just picked it up today. But I'm confident in my doctor because she seems to be pretty much on top of stuff. And she says she's seen these exact symptoms with other patients of hers. And I'm more sensitive than most people. I'm much more like, I'm not as canary in the mine as some people are, but I'm definitely in that category where things affect me more directly. So I'm appreciative, at least. We need to get it down. And they're going to do some more testing to see if there's any actual heart problems. I'm hoping there aren't. That's what I'm holding out for.
Me too.
Because everything at the ER said I was fantastic. I felt like hell. My brain didn't work. It was really strange sensations, but my numbers were good. And my heartbeat was fantastic. I'm like, yay, thank you. I wish you had a better explanation. So, yeah. Lod says, I was instinctively feeling that cherry blossom would symbolize spiritual love. That's not a bad definition.
Yep.
Newell says, my mother was a real sadistic individual, and as a child I spontaneously would leave my body and watch her from the top. This way it didn't hurt. That's not an uncommon thing for children who are being abused, no matter who's doing the abusing. Out-of-body experiences is actually a pretty common scenario. And that's exactly why. In order to escape, it's a survival tactic to get away from the situation so that you can have some distance. So I'm sorry that that happened to you. And I know it wasn't fun for me either with my father. So yeah. It does show us, though, that there's something else out there when we can see everything from a different point of view. Weird. Robin says, Ian, yes, when you study the origins of religion, they are really so similar. How did the whole world discover the same basic teachings? Because truth is truth, no
Yep.
matter where you are.
Yeah, and just to put it into different languages and different ways of framing it, but it's
And unfortunately, though, religion often represents the societal norms as well.
right.
And so finding the truth, you have to go below those.
Those societal norms.
Yeah, the
for
things
sure.
that society is trying to use religion in order to continue, like with subjugation of women, which is with the major religions the biggest thing that I see wrong with them as a religion. But then the basic tenets of some of them, being kind and compassionate and, feeling and being empathetic and all that other stuff seems universal to me. So, Angela says, I had been putting off this repair because I was afraid of harming the doll. She was a 113-year-old heirloom, 100 years old when I got her, but it had to be done, it felt, and I did it, and it worked. Oh, good.
Isn't that scary though when
Yes.
you're still in the process and something delicate? Oh,
One mistake and bam, it's all over.
Yeah, I just prefer not to do anything that delicate if I can help it. I've had to in the past, but yeah, it's always
Luo says, I knew my soul and body are separate, but I kind of scared of ever trying that on purpose. I knew as a child that no matter what is done to my body, my soul is mine.
yeah, we might I'm going to add just a little bit to what you're saying there, that you can travel mentally and astrally. And if you're trying to do mental travel, it's safer than actually astral traveling. And mental travel, you don't necessarily connect with all your emotions or the emotions of what you're seeing. So you can watch things more objectively. If you're astral, then you're getting the feeling. I don't think it would be unsafe in general if you wanted to try mental traveling. I'd probably recommend it, but don't push it too much. If you feel scared, just let the scared go away. But yeah, it's relatively safe in that sense if you don't go off the deep end with it and decide to do it 24 hours a day or something.
I could get you very unbalanced quite
Well,
quickly.
yeah.
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 Joy says, oh, speaking of cats, I have one, not a lap cat, but I was reciting your goddess chant this morning, and she jumped down from her perch and came onto my lap. That's awesome. They know. They like you. That's great. Robin says, get a good wrist monitor for your BP. Mine goes up in the evening. High BP can harm your kidneys. They keep telling me I cannot use a wrist monitor. Everybody, all the doctors, they don't work. They're just random generators of numbers that mean nothing. So I got a regular arm one, and it tried to kill me. It bruised my arm. I tore it off. I'm trying to decide if I can use it again or not, but yeah.
Well, it bruised your arm like that. That's,
Yeah. Trying to squeeze me.
Just shouldn't be doing that to find your blood pressure.
I think so too. Anyway. Yeah, we do what we can. But yes, high blood pressure is not good for your body in general. You don't want to get a stroke, That would be bad. And he says, I repainted a beautiful fairy statue that my grandmother had. Saw it was wore out from so many people touching it, so I put some ivory paint on her and named her May. She now sits on my altar.
Cool.
I do that a lot. My son gave me a candle holder that was just sort of one of those earthenware type, it was fired, but plain colored kind of thing. So I decided I wanted to dress it up, so I painted her all up. So she's sitting over on the west, which is kind of fun. She has a place for 3 votives on holding, I think it's 3, at least 2. Nope, there's 3. Yeah, so I can put 3 candles on her if I want to. Robin says, cherries are heart-shaped, so I associate with love. Yes. Angela says, that's heartbreaking. Hugs. Michael says, thank you so much, Siofra and Ian, for these live chats. Truly appreciated. Thank you, thank you. You're welcome.
You're welcome. When they go well, we truly enjoy them also. So,
and in case you haven't figured it out or missed this part, it's Ian's birthday today.
oh yeah. You
I
had
will-
to announce that.
I have to announce that
Why?
because
It's just a day like any other day.
I know.
Just means I was born a heck of a long time ago on this day. Not really
Lewell says
relevant.
it's interesting what fear drives people to assert control. If your beliefs are true, why do you feel the need to force it on people? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I actually just read an article, I think was this morning, about confrontation between Christian groups and pagan groups in my country, here in the United States, is becoming more common. And this happened in New York City, and it's happened in the past, and the organizers call the police, and generally the police come in and tell them they can't use bullhorns, they have to move to the edge of the festival area and leave the pagans alone. And this year the cops were like, they're not doing anything wrong, this is just freedom of speech, and left them to their own devices. So there's like this kind of antagonism going on right now, very assertive, not letting people just be themselves and be who they are and so forth. So Okay, Robin says, Lewell, I don't mind separating. It helps at astral travel, and that gives much to learning. Good for you on the old doll. I collect them too. It's wonderful to give them a home. Jonathan says, Angela, last step now is to name her Annabelle. Krista says, that's word transmigration? I'll have to look into it.
Yes, transmigration. Where are we at? I'm lost.
Krista. I'm
okay. I see. Okay.
Up above.
Sorry.
I stopped it from moving
Yes,
so I wouldn't
okay.
lose track. Lewell says, I am scared of my emotions. Well, they can be very intense and fully understandable. One of the reasons for therapy.
Yeah.
It can help. To be in a safe environment, talk to someone that you trust, or in an environment that you trust, and using ritual, which is one of the things I did a lot of. Writing things down, reading them out loud. You know, I actually sent one of the letters I wrote to my father to everyone in the family and caused all kinds of trouble. I'm like, no, I'm going to get this out here. I'm not going to be the only one sitting on this. Everyone's going to know. They're going to have to figure out how to deal with it. It's what it is, so there. But it helps to have an opportunity to get it out of your body, whether it's putting it in a rock and burying the rock, or throwing the rock in water, whether it's writing it out and burning it and letting it dissipate, whether it's putting it in a potato and burying it in the ground. You know, it doesn't matter the vehicle. It's the process of externalizing it somehow, saying it out loud, reading it out loud, putting it into something and letting it go. It helps to dissipate the energy that it has. And it takes a time, but it will work eventually. I know I'm hardly ever bothered by it at this point, and that's nice. Nice to have a life and not have to worry about that kind of stuff coming up all the time. But it takes work. It's not automatic. Angela says, it was very terrifying to fix Colette, since she was the childhood and deathbed companion to one of my ancestors. I didn't want to hurt many great-great-great-grand Colette's doll. Yeah, I bet. Lewell says, my husband haven't heard from the job he interviewed for yet, but I am optimistic. Yes, keep optimistic. Jonathan says, what do you guys think of Barden's warnings about breaking the silver cord during out-of-body experiences? Do you think an average witch can astral travel so completely that it is even a concern?
I actually have a pretty good thought about that, what I think about it. I believe that an average witch could astral travel so completely that it's a concern. But from my understanding, not if it's... You have to be able to astral travel perfectly enough that you can breathe in your astral body and not in your physical body. And at the point when you start breathing in your astral body and your physical body stops breathing, that's when you're in danger if touched. So as long as your physical breathing hasn't, or your physical body hasn't stopped breathing, you should be fine, and the astral cord thing won't be so much of a risk because you'll be mostly mentally traveling too. But at that point, if you try to consciously breathe in the astral and succeed, that's when you would potentially be in danger, so you want to make sure nobody touches your body or anything. So I think it's within the capability of a lot of people, but I think very few people even occurs to them to try to breathe in the astral body instead of their physical body. So I think in practice, there's really not that much of an issue. There could be some exceptions for people who are really, exceptional at it or natural, can do it naturally and things like that. But on the average, I would say it's not a risk for most people just because they don't go to the point where the body stops breathing. That would be my answer on that one.
And interestingly enough, not everyone who astral travels sees a silver cord. There's a lot of people who go out of body and never actually see the silver cord. For some, it seems to be something that they visualize to connect to the physical body and remember that they have one that they can follow back. And it makes them feel safer somehow. And for other people, it doesn't matter. They just leave and then they come back and do whatever. Interesting experience that I had once where I saw a bunch of forms in the air, or up in the sky, of what I assumed were people dreaming, because they weren't moving around. It's like their astral body was there and I could see their cords and stuff. And then all these birds, like there were a bunch of swallows that came flying around, and I watched them carefully avoid the silver cord with all of the different people that I could see in the sky, which I thought was quite fascinating. So Robin says, my Rely On wrist monitor has been checked with 3 different doctors' BPs. They said they don't work. Mine is perfect. Okay, let's keep a note of that.
Yeah.
I'm going to write that down. Because I was doing some research and I tried to talk to the ER doctor. None of them work. It was like, okay, you know everything. I don't care what you read on the internet, that kind of thing. Because I would much prefer a wrist monitor, and I would feel much safer with that. That arm thing was like ridiculous.
Well, thank you for all the happy birthday wishes. Very much appreciated. I do have some Virgo traits for sure. At one time I had somebody calling me a Virgo so often that I declared that I was no longer a Virgo, so he'd stop saying, well, that sounds like a very Virgo thing to do, because it was driving me nuts. But yeah, I definitely have some Virgo qualities, no doubt about it.
Okay, so Angela says she's the centerpiece of my ancestor altar, so that's her doll. And then Aquarian says happy birthday.
Yeah,
Kenny says happy
that's where everybody
birthday.
says happy birthday.
Everyone says
Yeah.
happy birthday. Jacqueline says, oh my gosh, happy birthday. Hey, happy
I
birthday.
appreciate the happy any other day also.
That's true. Happy any
Yep.
day.
That's right.
And Robin says happy birthday and happy any other day. Yay. So Angela says Colette is named after her former owner, one of my ancestors. She actually expresses dislike to the Annabelle joke. The doll's energy gets a really, really feeling. Yeah. Well, I mean, objects are often very particular about certain things. I mean, okay, so I was making a wand yesterday, and I had this idea in my head, and I wanted to use certain stones. So I start putting these stones on, and it doesn't like those stones. Those stones won't work. I tried different stones along the same line, the same kind of stone, but different shapes. It didn't like it. I've now finished the wand, and none of those stones are on that wand. It didn't want any of them, so it's like,
You know what? Sorry, never mind. You get there in a moment.
okay.
Sorry.
Robin says, Jonathan sounds like the Buddha story of the spider web that he used to try to help someone climb out of hell. I think I would need more proof of the silver cord theory. Lewell says, with a Capricorn ascendant and moon in Gemini, feeling emotion is hard. I prefer either intellectualize them and do something productive with them. Angela says, happy birthday to whoever's having a birthday. I like to ask my guides to astral walk with me when I try. I feel much safer. It's a good idea. Oh, and we still didn't see the
Never showed me the
coyote
coyote story. I'm sorry.
I got so
I'm
distracted
sorry,
by all
Angela.
the other stuff.
I promise I will do our best to remember to take a look at it. With all the crazy stuff that's been going on, it's just, yeah, sorry.
Chagrined. Hanging our heads in shame. Vanessa V says, happy birthday. Robin says, my grandson lives with me, Virgo. They are so fussy. Got to learn to let go with the flow. Yeah, I think it's all very particular. And, the general personality things I think are just that, very, very general.
Well, they're tendencies, not they don't force you. Like they say, the planets make you have a tendency. They don't force anything on you, but it make certain people inclined in certain directions.
Luo says, I spontaneously traveled in dreams and see places as they are and not how I remember. I've checked to talk to my deceased grandmother, but doing it on purpose, maybe someday. There's no hurry. Aquarian says, in Vedic astrology, Ian, your son would be in Leo. Awesome.
Okay.
Angela says, I'll give you the short version here. Okay, she's going to tell us about the story.
Cool.
Luo says, what about September 7th, Virgo in Vedic astrology? That's my husband, and he definitely acts like a Virgo. So Angela says, the stars were lonely in the sky. Coyote and the other animals invited them down, but the stars explained they couldn't because if they couldn't get into the sky by dawn, they would die.
Okay.
Coyote kept asking and promising he would do everything he could to get them back in the sky. The stars finally, after a long time, came down and had a wonderful time. I'll go back to Jonathan after the end of this. Did they actually make it back into the sky? I can't remember.
Well, that's kind of a typical Coyote-ish thing. He apparently liked partying with humans, and
Here it is. Then, when it got close to dawn, Coyote tried to lift them and failed, asked for the animals' help, but they said it was the Coyote's problem.
yeah, and that sounds typical too. Unfortunately, they always, all the Coyote stories, Coyote always ends up at the wrong end of things. I think it was more prejudice myself, but
So Jonathan says, Robin, I've recently heard people talking about the silver cord. I never would have expected to believe in it. I haven't seen it, but enough people describe the same thing that I think it might be real.
yeah, and I think it's the same kind of thing. Unless you're out there and you're not so well that you're not breathing in your body, you're not solidly astral enough to have any concerns there, and you probably won't see it either.
Okay, here's the rest of the story. Then we got then when it got close to dawn, Coyote tried to lift them and failed. Asked for the animals' help. It said it was Coyote's problem, and the stars uttered a curse as they died that they would dry up and become sharp and would stick to those who failed to help them, and they would spread and cause them pain. So the stars became the sandburn plant. So I guess they have lots of burrs.
Yeah, very interesting.
And they stuck in many animals, but Coyote is mostly able to avoid them. Cool, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I have a coyote tail. I picked a couple of, I do not know where, I mean, I know where it came from, but I do not know, how the coyote was killed or what.
There were a few burrs on it.
I'm stuck with that, but it had some nice burrs in there. And I think that most of these stories, if you dig through the bull and the fact that they have to be twisted around to make Coyote always come out as the bad guy, and I think that's a prejudice, led to those stories being told that way a lot, but usually they represent some form of Coyote's power, and that would indicate that those burrs would be related to some form of Coyote's power. He's also said to have used his feces as part of his magic, but I think, and that's very badly put out there that this is disgusting, and but in reality, I think again that goes to Coyote's power as an earth being, in that sense, his earthiness, and dealing with that, because that's the most earthy part of a person, and
that's how you spread seeds and things like that.
And your anus is the most earthy part, and so I think it's all a reference, that being his power, implying that Coyote has much earth power, earth-based, earth-related power, but the stories have been turned around to make it negative towards Coyote and to make him seem disgusting, and that's my own take on it. I doubt if any Native Americans would agree with me, but my own take on it is he's mistrusted for poor reasons.
Jacqueline says you can work on the bad traits of your astrological signs so that you don't lean towards those fancies anymore. I think fancies is something else, but yeah. Okay. Robin says, I think the thought of a silver cord would be helpful to those with a fear of astral travel. I don't need a cord, so that doesn't bother me. Lugo says, the only sign who doesn't have negative traits is a Leo. Just kidding. And I had to say it as a Leo sun. All right. Well, I think the only one without negative traits is a Capricorn, so there. Bep says, don't need to be a Leo necessarily in Vedic, but chances are 80% for the person who asked. Angela says, he did keep his promise and tried and help them. Perhaps that's why the birds don't hurt him often. Yeah. Coyotes clean up what other animals won't eat, so it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
He turns something that other animals see as refuse into some kind of actual good thing.
Yeah, I believe, like any other stories, if you look for the truth underlying them and throw out the cultural aspects, then you can get a lot closer.
And boo on those animals that wouldn't help the stars. I don't blame them for cursing them. It's like, right. I'm sorry. Those are stars, people. You don't, like, let them die. Robin says, wow, that's a neat story. I used to do landscape photos in the desert, and when coyotes would approach, I'd use my handheld flash, and they'd leave. I did moonlight photography. They were like companions. Angela says he feels misunderstood. Yes, he does. Definitely feels misunderstood. Maybe one of the reasons why he likes to do tricks. Drumwitch says Coyote tells us to embrace our sense of humor.
That's true too. I think I have, I mean, it seems clear once Coyote pointed out to me that he was basically my totem animal. All of a sudden, a lot of things in my life suddenly made sense from that perspective that I didn't get before. So I have to say I have a lot of Coyote traits.
It seems very clear.
Yeah.
He's very clever and has a unique perspective. Trash Bag says, hi. Hi, Trash Bag. Off topic. Ever wear a plastic trash bag as clothing? If not, will you wear it now? Seriously, not answering that question. And if I see another question like that, I'm not just not answering the question, I'm not reading the question. And then, if that happens, the third time, Ian is going to boot you from the chat. So, warning. Vanessa V says, have you heard of the story of Coyote and No Song? I think he isn't portrayed negatively in that one.
No, that's one I'm not familiar with. I'll have to look it up.
I'll write that down.
Get Siofra to write that down for me.
Ian's got some plans for doing some Coyote paintings when he's done with this one at some point. Angela says, I heard one story that Coyote was only playing tricks because after he helped people, they disregarded him and ignored him, and he pulled pranks, it seemed, for karma. I would not be surprised. Then Great Spirit told Coyote to go wait until humans were ready to be kind. So now we wait for Coyote. Jacqueline says, tendencies, talk to text. I figured it was something like that. Yep. Angela says, me either. Why didn't they help Coyote put them back? I don't know. Kenny says, not a big fan of coyotes, but there's a black one that's always near my house, along with a brown one. I actually had an experience with Coyote before Ian and I ever met, and it was interesting. I was living up, I wasn't in the Kispiox Valley yet. I was outside of Smithers. Can't remember the name of the town at the moment for some reason. But anyway, we were living on a farm, and this one night I kept dreaming I heard Coyote. I heard Coyote calling and calling and calling and howling, and it finally woke me up. And then I realized that it really was coyotes. It wasn't a dream. It was really happening. So I got out of bed and I walked over to the bedroom window up on the second floor and looked down. There was like a dozen coyotes underneath my window, all looking up and howling at the window. And just as I saw them and the sun was coming up, they broke up into 2 and 3, groups of 2 and 3, and wandered off in every different direction. And then when I told some local people what I'd seen, they basically thought I was delusional and called me a liar and said that they never gather in those numbers. That's
like those 100-foot waves that never happen.
That's right, exactly. You see something, you tell people it's happening, they go like, nah, that's not true. So But anyway, it's kind of interesting, especially
Yeah.
since
And
I met Coyote a second time in a guided meditation where he's meeting my spirit animals or totems, and I had Bear and Coyote with me. I mean, Bear and Deer, and then Coyote was following. And so when Ian discovered that he was Coyote, it all sort of made sense. It's like he's always been around somewhere without me knowing it. And the Coyote spirit was letting me know. And his totem likes me a lot. So he actually has visited me on occasion. Not too often, but he does sometimes. Drumwitch says, I had a dream of a cardinal last night. Definitely magical. Robin
as long as
says,
it's not the one with the red hat. Sorry.
the cardinal? Oh, not
Sorry.
that kind. It's a bird.
I know.
Not a
I
pope.
know. I know.
Not a wannabe pope.
I know. I'm just sorry. Couldn't help it. Sometimes it just pops
Yes,
out of my face.
It does. Robin says, I saw the pic of the painting Ian did. Wow, really very nice. Love the mirror image in the lake.
Oh,
I
thank
know.
you.
It's awesome. And Jacqueline bought the painting as a poster. We have it set up for that. And so she was our test customer. She so volunteers for this. It's just great. And she said it was perfect. Absolutely. She loved it. She loved the board, the paper it was on, and it looks fantastic. And so we were very relieved that we picked a good company to print them up for us. Because you just never know when you're doing stuff. It's
Well,
always
and then I hadn't made a mistake with the picture either, because you gotta, if you put it in wrong and then it gets
yeah,
messed up, yeah.
there's all sorts of things. So Lowell says, real story, a Scorpio once asked me what my sign was. I said, the best sign of all. She asked, what's that supposed to be? I said, Leo, of course. She only Leos would say that. She was not amused.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
well.
amused. I'm amused, and then Leos are sort of the center of everything. If you look at the tree of life and you take on the Kabbalah and Tippereth,
And
it's
the sun.
dead center, so it's the balance of everything. And supposedly the sphere, when you get halfway there, God, whatever your conception of that is, comes down halfway to meet you.
So Angela
Kabbalistic
says, oh, wow,
conception.
so cute. Nick says, hi. Hi, Nick. Robin says, did you know coyotes will bark like a regular dog? I don't know I've ever heard them bark like a dog, but it doesn't surprise me. Nick says, wow. Angela says, I saw 3 coyotes once lounging in the corner of a Walmart parking lot. Mistook them for dogs.
I should point out, too, that I don't know how far this coyote thing corresponds to the actual animal themselves. But I've certainly had some coyotes show themselves to me, and I used to hear them all the time where I was growing up. Because I grew up in the woods.
And every so often we hear them here because there's some that come close to town. Not all the time, but every so often I can hear them at night in the distance.
Previously in the past, I haven't had a good connection with dogs, so I'm not sure. But at least the coyote spirits that I'm dealing with and what have you, and admittedly, the one I'm dealing with is more complicated than you might call just the totem, but it's more like the spirit of coyote itself. So anyway, whatever that means.
So Bep says, had a lot of coyotes around my tent the other day. Not fun when howling all night. Better than having your tent surrounded by wolves. That's freaky. I've had that happen in the cabin I was in. It was like very odd to hear them all howling around. They have quite an interesting voice. Angela says, they playfully barked and yipped at me. People warned me they weren't dogs when I got about 6 feet. That they weren't dogs, so I moved back and went to the car with my brother, but I never sensed animosity from them. They just wanted to have a good time.
Yeah, I've never been close enough. I've never been very close to a living coyote except ones we've seen on the road crossing in front of our car and things like that when we were out in the wilds.
So Vanessa V says, I dreamt with a wolf a while ago. He lived in my house, not like a pet, because I did feel a distinction between him and my dogs, but can't pinpoint what he was doing. It's always interesting. I've had dreams with other animals, and most of them have been just amazing dreams. I had an encounter with a whale. I had one with a lion. I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Woke Wizard says, what are your thoughts with combining real magical practices and knowledge and put all of that into an online 3D virtual world? I am working on such a project. Curious on your thoughts? Would you be interested in such a thing? I like video games. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea. Personally, at this point in my life, I've decided I needed to put certain things away in order to focus on what I wanted to focus on, and one of those is magic, and one of those is my painting. So I wouldn't be so interested in it, except for as far as a concept, or how would you go do that, and what would you be doing. I mean, I definitely like realism in video games and things like that. I think are cool.
It would be interesting if it was like a learning environment where you were actually learning magical principles.
Yeah, but it would have to be fun too.
But it would have to be fun too, yeah. I don't know. It sounds like an interesting project though. Vanessa V says he felt like a guard but also friendly. Any thoughts of what that means? I've been feeling drawn to wolves since a while before the dream. Well, I would think that when you have those types of visitations and dreams, they're usually there to let you know that they're around and they're a spirit guardian at the least.
Yeah, probably some form that you have an association with. It sounds like it was all positive, so yeah.
Robin says, Ian, my 16-year-old granddaughter had a dream of the Tree of Life. I showed her your video and it made her more interested, so thank you. I couldn't explain it to her.
You're welcome. It's a complicated subject for that version. The Kabbalistic Tree of Life is, of course, different from like the Norse Tree of Life thing stuff. So
There's some similarities, but a lot of differences.
Yeah.
Luel says, used to live in Southern California, saw them all the time. Yes, and a lot of people around here don't like them because they consider them pests and they cause trouble. And there's some places we don't like to drive because they have their trophies hanging from a fence to dissuade apparently the other coyotes. I'm not sure if that works, but Vanessa V says, and I do wish I could be friends with a wolf, so I don't know if the dream is a manifestation of my wish or something else.
Well, just remain open, and as long as things don't go negatively, you may have some more experiences.
Yeah. And the thing is like with there's the spirit animal and then there's the totem animal, which are not the same thing. They can have overlap. I have both a spirit and totem bear, but I have a spirit panther and not a totem panther. I have a totem deer. So it really depends. You can have overlap or not. It's interesting. Nick says, I saw a big-ish black cat spirit thing in the woods at twilight. Cool experience. Ah. Angela says, I'm working how to put a goddess altar in Skyrim. Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool. We really enjoyed
idea.
the Morrowind stuff. We didn't get as far as Skyrim. Our computers blew up, and then we ended up doing other things. So we have multiple computers, but Siofra is the only one who plays video games anymore.
Yeah, it depends. Right now, my computer's not functioning with that because we changed the operating system. So
Yeah.
until I get a new computer or something like that, I'm not playing my video game. Robin says, we had a dog that was part coyote. He once ate a live mouse whole in one bite. Yuck. He also loved jalapenos. His name was Tori. He was skittish but loving. Ha!
Cool.
Violet says, hi guys, sorry I'm late since my body is compromised by a neck injury and medicine for it 24/7. Does that make invocation unsafe? Well, it would make it difficult to do because if you can't focus and concentrate because you're in pain or you're falling asleep, I would not do it.
Yeah, evocation also.
Yeah,
Either way.
Either evocation or invocation.
Yeah, invocations generally aren't unsafe as long as you're invoking something that you might be in harmony with. Of course, you don't want to invoke a demon or something like that, but you would invoke a god form.
You could invoke a healing
form.
god or goddess into yourself to help with your pain, and that would be safe, I would think.
Yeah.
Jonathan says, what connotations do Americans have with coyotes? Here in South Africa, we have jackals. They are beautiful, but the farmers hate them because of the damage they cause. I guess wolves are very rare there by you. They are here, but they're making a comeback in other parts of the country.
Yeah, basically coyotes, the physical coyotes have a bad rep because they have a tendency to prey on farmers' animals and cows and things like that. So they're basically considered by the average American, considered like a nuisance animal they just as soon shoot. Obviously, I don't feel that way. But yeah, they are not considered in a positive sense, nor are they considered in a positive sense in any of the negative Native American stories, with maybe the exception of the one that was mentioned that we have to look up.
Right, and then the Aztec
Yeah.
version,
Right.
creation of
Well,
the
I couldn't.
universe kind
Yeah,
of thing.
I want to find out more about the Aztec version, but that's pretty hard to find out. I haven't found the right sources yet for any real information on that, except that he'd like to party with people and he's kind of a party guy and had all kinds of powers of transformation and things.
So Angela says, Violet! And Lulu says, when my husband gets this job, we'll be moving to Southern California again. Can't wait. I miss Southern California. It was the only place I felt at home. Jonathan says, hi, Violet. I hope you mean evocation, but mistook. I think we already fixed that problem, potentially. Joy says, how would you define a totem versus a spirit animal? Okay, so a totem animal is basically like some core attribute of your body and spirit. It's like it speaks to your true nature, your very being.
Yeah, it's your overall one.
It's sort of more than like your astrology sign, let's say, much more appropriate than like when you were born. And when Native Americans would be going on a vision quest or whatever, one of the goals was to find out for sure who their totem was if they did not know by then, and then get in touch with the powers of that particular animal and understand them. And in some cultures, depending on what it was, then that led to restrictions. Like the Inuit up in Alaska, they would have one member of the tribe that was in touch with the whales, but they could never eat whale meat, and if they did, they lost their connection to the whales. But their ability to connect with the whale spirit in that sense and be part of their tribe in a way would allow them to tell the other members of the hunting tribe or whatever where to go, how many they were allowed to take, and which ones were there for giveaway.
Yeah, your totem animal kind of is like you are that. Your other spirit animals and spirit guides can help you and stuff, and you normally have some connection to them. But they're not like, the main thing, the totem, the basic. I guess it'd probably be the bottom of the totem pole, although I'm not sure enough about native stuff to know if that's true.
And interestingly enough,
basically you are that.
The deer has been obviously mine ever since I was little, because random people would come up and tell me I looked like a deer, just off the street kind of thing. And I can't eat deer meat. I was fed it once and I immediately threw up. And I thought, okay, I can't eat this. It's my totem. That's just the way that works. Works for me. But you can attract certain spirit animals and they can assist you, sort of like a familiar. Robin says, how would you know a totem from a spirit? I have a spirit panther and a bear. I don't know about totem animals. I think we're sort of are talking about that. So
yeah, and in my case it was simple because Coyote came up to me and said, I'm your totem animal.
yeah, it's like,
So
hello,
yeah,
I claim you.
Yeah, so
Lulu says, wolf are up north. My son and I saw 2 wolves this winter. We are in the northeast right now. So they exist, but they hide. Woke Wizard says the idea is to combine sacred geometry to amplify your energy body practices in the real world. The purpose is to gamify magic practices in the game, combined with subliminal messaging to train you 3D. Well, it'd be interesting to see
like
what
an
that
interesting
comes
project, yeah.
out. Bep says, I'm iguana. Cool.
Well, I don't know that that's a frowny face, though. I bet iguanas have some special properties.
I'm sure they
except
must.
I don't know much about them myself.
Yeah. Angela says, yeah, if they're your entity friend, they wouldn't hurt you. Shay says, hello all, happy birthday, Ian. Hi, Shay. Her hours changed, so she's later than she used to be because they changed her time for lunch. So, yay. Lod says, I was wondering what you think about people on YouTube who use a ghost box to get in touch with spirits. I'm skeptical that ghost box works. I've never tried one for myself though, so I don't have any personal experience with it. Yeah.
I'd give the same answer exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robin says, I'm in Maryland near the ocean. We have many foxes and raccoons. Yeah, we have fox. I haven't seen a fox in town, but we have lots of raccoons around here. And opossums and things.
I was once surrounded by a bunch of silver foxes out at the Lava Beds National Monument.
Was that foxes at the lava beds?
Yeah, Mike and I were out there, and it was silver foxes, and they were yipping all around. It was cool.
That's pretty cool. Lewell says, those two looked at us, we looked at them, and they moved on. I think we were all surprised by this meeting. Yeah, I bet. Woke Wizard says, just a small percent of what modalities I will be implementing that act more of the ultimate self-development tool, combining audio, visual, and action taking. Ian says, thank you, Shay, for the birthday wishes. Robin says, I connect well to dogs. Strays always come to me for help. I have 3 and I feel like I know them. So would a dog perhaps be a totem animal to me? It's certainly a possibility.
It's certainly possible, yeah.
But I'm pretty sure dogs are not my totem, but they talk to me and they come to me for help and they tell me what's going on in their bodies. So it could be an empathic animal connection that you have as well, or it could be both. Because I definitely get along much better with cats in general in a home, but when I've gone to like large events and so forth, or sometimes walking into a store where someone has an animal, if they have a dog, a lot of times the dog will come up and give me a health history. Then I tell the owner, and the owner looks at me like, okay, that person's crazy. Can they get out of my store now? But from which I have a deer candelabra. That's actually not uncommon because the horns make good bases for things. Alan says, sorry about late arrival. I was working with a local band and recording studio. Yay. From which says, a fake one. Well, they don't have to be fake since they let them go every year. No animals have to be harmed in order to get the horns. But it makes them more flat because then you can decide where they want to be. Woke Wizard says, by the way, huge fan of your content and open-minded knowledge. Thanks for holding this space for us. Much love to you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. This is why we do this. You know, if no one wanted us to be doing this, we would probably stop. Yeah, that's kind of how we roll. And he says, had to dream of a native lady on a giant white deer some months ago. She was standing on the road right by my house, been trying to figure out who she was and what the dream meant. Sounds like you might have seen a she. They often travel on deer, sometimes white, sometimes regular looking. Sounds like a spirit for sure, some kind of a connection there. That's probably why they made the animal white, so that it would stand out.
Those things are pretty individual, so to really get it, you'll have to figure out your own meaning for that, because it's probably something that's relevant to you specifically.
So Angela says, every time I try to do spirit animal meditation, I see an animal made of many. I wonder if that means I have a few animals in general love me. Yes, that could very well mean that. I have a lot of animals that are attracted to me and I'm attracted to and encounter with. And there's also the idea that you might have a different totem animal for each chakra in your body. And so your main totem animal would be your root chakra, so deer for me, coyote for Ian. But I have, like I said, I have bear and a hummingbird. And there's been a few others that have made themselves known here and there that I can't think of right now. But, you know. So Robin says, I have 2 ghost boxes. One really did pick up a spirit once, but I think the rest is just electrical energy. It's one of those things, you know, technology trying to attempt to interact with something that's beyond human hearing, beyond human sight. It's going to depend upon how they make the technology as to whether it's actually accurate or not, but it's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Luna says, hi Siofra and Ian, how are you both getting on? we're doing all right. We're almost done with our show, so I'm glad you made it in time. Jonathan says, hi, Luna. Talon says, at Kenny, depending on tribal culture, could be a goddess, but more likely she's an embodiment of a land spirit. Yeah, that could be too. From which says, Animal Speak is a great book to read for this subject. Luna says, update on the Haunted Kids soft play center near me. The lady who there said that people are getting locked into the toilets several times per week in addition to all of the knocking. Unfortunately, the owners don't believe in ghosts and won't permit weird spiritual folk going in to try and cross the spirit over. Have a suggestion for you to try, since you do a lot of travel, as it were, in the mental planes. Get it together with a group of people that you can trust and go there. You don't need their permission. You can go there out of body in the mental plane. And I have actually successfully crossed over spirits from time to time that way, using a group of people. We had a friend of ours who was in another part of the state who was freaking out because there were spirits all over the place. We found like a dozen of them and crossed them over. And he was standing there watching it happen, so we got confirmation of our success. So, Google says, have you heard of a Slavic Baba Yaga fairy tale character? I feel like I'm turning into her with age.
Well,
yeah.
now just watch out you don't buy any cabins that dance on chicken legs and
That's right.
chicken feet.
Stay away from those chicken-feeded cabins. They're bad.
Yeah.
Robin says, I'm frustrated that I cannot see auras. Is this an important thing to learn, or should I just give it up? Well, it's not necessarily, it's not essential. It's just a cool thing sometimes, and sometimes you see them better than others. Try not to do it so hard. Practice in the evening when there's very little light, and look at your own aura and your own hand and see if anything starts to come up, because it can click in that way better. So Jonathan says, Angela says, Baba Yaga stories are wild. Jonathan says, Drum Witch, I just looked it up. Animal Speak by Ted Andrews. Violet says, I heard Jonathan in the background. Hello, just so you know, I'm not high and I never drink. So it is a normal med regimen that helps. I just hear that beings can attach because of it. I'll try something. Well, yeah. Try angels, maybe? Drum Witch says, yes. That's the one. Animal Speak by Ted Andrews. Angela says, does that mean she eats humans? I don't know. That's another witch called Baba Vanga in Russian lore, who's similar but calmer and associated with plants. I don't know. There's a lot of cultural differences. Luna says, thank you. Hadn't thought of doing it on the mental plane. I'm going in with my kids for a play session next week. Just see if I can pick up anything whilst I'm there. Oh, if you're going to be there in person, here's another thing to do to help you with the mental plane. Draw a pentagram on the door where the bathroom is, mark it, or draw it in the air above the place, and that'll draw you right there. It's sort of like, I did that with a thing down at the Cave Junction in Southern Oregon, and marked the spot that way when I was there, so I could finish up what I'd started. Angela says, Baba means grandmother, Yaga means lazy bones. Angles, yes. No, I think she still means angels. Finger slip. Bep says, I see auras easily in dim light, but in daylight, not happening. And Lulu says, no kid eating. No kidding. Drum Witch says, cool. Angela says, if you're going to be there in person, bring an empty pendant. Maybe the spirit just wants to get out. Yeah, that could be problematic until she knows more. After she knows more, maybe that would work. Because, we brought the empty vessel for the Buddha spirit to enter into and come with us. And so I know that can work. Violet says, wise Angela, love it. Angela says, you could make the offer to take it out and release it elsewhere. Yeah, just get more information. Andela says, what do you think would be a great way to start working with the Fae, and should we give them some offerings? If you're going to be giving them offerings, they like to have honey and rice and milk are their favorite things that I know of. They also like shiny objects, crystals, things that are sparkly, sort of like what crows and ravens like, very similar in taste to that. Luna says, oh sweet, thank you for that brilliant advice, Siofra. You're welcome. Jonathan says, Violet, I'm not actually in Oregon right now. I have a feeling Siofra would get irritated with me.
Might depend on whether you showed up without warning or not.
Yeah, like that guy from Texas who I said, don't
Sorry,
come,
that's
this is a bad
that's
time.
another
And then he
issue.
drove 17 hours and showed up on our doorstep. It didn't work out. Lula says, but definitely plants and strong desire to be alone in the forest. I think she is seriously misunderstood. And that may well be. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of those things where they've turned powerful female figures into demons in order to take their power away, so that we can't, like, avail ourselves of their energy.
That's
and,
true.
and we'll leave them alone.
That's always the thing of demonizing somebody else's religious figures.
So Violet says, my sink drain started growing something awful. How can I get rid of it? Any magic cure for drains? Bleach? No, vinegar?
Vinegar, bleach, yeah.
A plumber? Robin says, I'm saying bye as I'm tired, but so happy to have caught you this week. I missed you when I was in the hospital. Best wishes.
Best
Thank you, and I'm
wishes.
so glad that you're getting
Glad you
better.
could join.
Lulu says, Baba Vanga was a real person who did a lot of predictions, especially in my childhood in the 80s. Joy says, how do you know where in your yard the Fae may be at? Walk around and listen for the sound of bells on the wind and the smell of mint. And laughter. If you hear tinkly laughter, that's going to be where they're at. Angela says, I'm Slavic and my grandma was always scaring me with Baba Yaga. I was literally scared of the woods for years. I'm so hard.
And
Sorry.
Angela, I'm gonna mark to show your last comment, but it held it because of the profanity, so please let's not do profanity again, and I will release it now.
So, Violet says, I can barely get a Q-tip in there. Luna says, Violet, Jonathan has a wonderful cure for drains. Good, so you can talk to each other. Angela says, true, in some stories she's very helpful. And okay, Luna. Angela says, she seems to dislike jerks. Most of her violence is toward characters that are assholes as far as Baba Yaga is concerned. Maybe she's an entity of karma. And oops, sorry. Well, hey, I think that word is one of those words they don't worry about too much. But
yeah, but I just want to mention if it's being held, because I can't, if I don't notice it's being held right away.
That's right. Absolutely.
It won't show up. So.
And Jonathan says, I brew my own bio drain cleaner. I'm brewing 40 liters right now. I swear by it, it's a blend of bacillus bacteria. And Angela says, and I didn't know that Baba Vanga was a real person. That's so cool. All right. So this has been fantastic and lots of fun. Thank you all very much for being here. We only have a couple of minutes, so I guess it's time for us to start saying our bye-byes and, send us messages and stuff and let us know what you want to talk about. I have another video coming out next week, and that's already done because of all of our doctor's appointments and travel and everything. We tried to get ahead a little bit, and we'll hopefully be doing that again soon. So we have that. But yeah, I got a couple of ideas that some people have suggested, so I'm working on those notions and whatnot. So yeah, this has been great. We really enjoy our Sundays.
And before we quite all go, Jonathan, I might actually be interested in that bio drain cleaner.
Recipe?
Yeah, maybe.
Send us an
feel
email.
like it? Yeah, on that subject. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. We will try and have a great week. Tomorrow, skin. No cancer. That's what my thoughts are.
Blessed be everybody. Thank you for all being here. Bye, Shay.
Blessings, everybody. It's been awesome.
Yes, it has.
It has been great. Darlene. Hello, Darlene. We didn't see you ask a question, but we're glad that you're here, and goodbye. And yeah, so an email will come. So he'll let you know.
Thank you for the happy birthday,
all right.
everybody. Blessed be.